Summer 2013. A muggy hot morning headed over the 100-degree mark. My quest for my Starbucks venti blonde roast coffee takes me past the same bus stop daily. To the average commuter, it may have nothing to set it off from any other stop. Another anonymous city hub. There are people waiting to go to different parts of their lives, jobs, family, shopping, school. This particular stop catches my attention daily because to me it symbolizes more. I know it as a way station for those in various stages of drug and alcohol recovery and descent. The apartment complex sitting 10 yards behind it houses many dealing with such issues. A decades-old facade, rain-worn wooden structure complex. The rent's cheap. It's within walking distance of a local AA group. The line also runs close to several sober living homes. There are different stories from all walks of life: fallen lawyers, blue-collar workers, service industry. Confirmation that addiction does not discriminate. As I drive past, my head once more turns to take stock of one of my possible futures, pre-recovery. I see a slouching and skin-weathered familiar person waiting for the bus. It's my friend Gary. I'd met Gary in 2003 when we both worked of counsel to a Dallas general practice law firm. I was trying to hold my life together. Addiction, failed marriages, and an eating disorder made it difficult. I hadn't spoken to Gary since we had worked a bench trial about 6 months earlier, the last lawsuit for which I would appear in court as an attorney. Gary was sober and brilliant. I admired his trial skills, but I didn't envy him. Being in the courtroom made me sick to my stomach. Nausea that at one time only alcohol and cocaine could cure. I couldn't wait for the case to finish, but we had an excellent result, so we were all happy. Then Gary disappeared. Radio silent. A full voicemail, I knew what that meant. Gary would go through stretches of stellar representation of his clients. Then came the complaints of neglect. Client accusations of being under the influence during legal proceedings, mediations, court hearings. Finally, federal marshals arresting him on an outstanding drug warrant at the courthouse. A myriad of consequences finally catching up to the problem, unfortunately including disbarment. I pull a U-turn, drive up alongside him, and offer a ride. Some quick curbside small talk as I see the bus coming from my rearview mirror. Asking in a tone of familiarity and friendship, as if he had been on a Caribbean cruise, I said, "Gary, where have you been? Do you need a ride somewhere?" He glances at the bus coming up from behind. His facial muscles relax. Some of the lines disappear. For a moment, he looks more like the Gary I remember. "Great to see you, Brian," he said. "A ride would be wonderful. Where are you headed?" I asked. Out of the corner of my eyes, I could see him shift while his sunburned face began to glisten with sweat, searching for an answer. I was at a meeting and headed down to my place. Had to sell my car. "Great to hear you're going to meetings, Gary. How much sobriety do you have? Are you hungry? Let's grab some lunch and catch up." "Thanks, Brian. Lunch sounds great." "Cafe Brazil sound good, Gary? I love their taco salads." "Cafe Brazil's great, Brian. Been there, love that place. The restaurant's only a 10-minute drive." The first 5 tick by in silence. I struggle to find the right words to tell him what I know. I decide to push that elephant out of the car. "Gary, I read about your disbarment in the Bar Journal. I'm real sorry." "Yeah, there was a misunderstanding over some checks written on a client's trust account, on my trust account. There was some correspondence with the bar. Then I got a default notice of disbarment. I don't know what happened. My lawyer and I decided not to fight it, but it wasn't my fault, Brian. It wasn't. I'm ready to move on anyways. I need a change. I'm moving back to New York. I'm going to move in with my family till I get up and going again." During lunch, we engaged in spurts of small talk followed by silence. We discussed going to 12-step meetings together before he moves and taking things one day at a time. I know his version of disbarment is BS, but what's the point? He's done. It's done. I pull out my wallet to pay the check. The familiar question comes, "Do you have a spare 20, Brian? I'm short this week." Not the first time Gary's asked me for money. Says, I will be on my feet and repay you when I get back to New York. Sure thing, Gary. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal at all. He motions me to pull up in front of an apartment complex I recognize as a sober living halfway house. Thanks, Brian. See you at the noon meeting. Sure, Gary. Do you want me to pick you up? Nah, I'll just see you there. I'll get there on my own. Then he's gone again. His voicemail is full again. He's tested positive for drugs and kicked out of the sober home. July 2013, my cell phone rings, a 516 area code, Long Island, where some of Gary's family lives. He's moved home. Gary, great to hear from you. I wondered if you had moved home. I worried about you. Yeah, sorry, he says. Disconnect. I'm back home and settling in. I have good support here, and I have an interview coming up to work as a paralegal. That's good news. November 2013, I'm having a watch party for my appearance on the Katie Couric Show. I get a Facebook message from Gary. He's coming to Dallas for the party. He attaches a photo of the plane ticket to convince me. It's the last time I hear from him. A Facebook message from his ex-wife. The Google explosion of his name tells the story. At age 54, Gary is dead. Hit by a tractor trailer while walking down the middle of a busy highway. Gary never got it in recovery. It's not that he didn't want to get it. He tried every day. I miss my friend.